Present.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Ms. Griffin? Ms. LaSalle?
Here.
Mr. Ponte?
Here.
Mr. Parity?
Here.
Mr. Mancuso?
Here.
Mrs. Dennis?
Here.
Mrs. Black?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you, if you're able to, please stand for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father God, we come before you this afternoon to say thank you for all your abundant, bountiful blessings that you continue to bestow on each of us, our families, and all of the citizens and residents of our St. Mary Parish. Secondly, as always, we ask and thank you in advance for continuing to give your divine wisdom and understanding to our superintendent, Dr. Fagenbush, school board president, Mrs. Black, and to all of the other school board members that will allow them to effectively discuss and take action as needed on all of the items comprising today's agenda. Finally, we ask and thank you for continuing to bless and protect our St. Mary Parish, our state of Louisiana, and most importantly, our United States of America. These and other blessings we ask in your name and in the name of Jesus. Amen.
First up, recognition of our newly appointed positions. Ms. Este.
Good evening. We have a few new assignments, so I will start with Miss Sarah Olivier. You want to come up, Pete? Okay. Miss Olivier started her teaching career in Iberia Parish as a 3rd through 6th grade ELA teacher. She was a master teacher, technology coordinator, and a high school teacher. She then moved to Lafayette Parish where she taught, she served as a 6th through 8th grade district literacy coach, and she was currently, before now, she was an English teacher at West St. Mary. Among many of her responsibilities include providing coaching to teachers, identifying areas of reinforcement and refinement. She worked to develop teachers' knowledge of state and district curriculum, state content standards, and the teacher evaluation rubric. She provides resources for teachers to enhance instructional planning, assessment, and classroom management. She also has experience in the newly adopted state evaluation system, NIET. She's a team player and performs any tasks that she's asked to do, whether it's teaching, serving as a sponsor, serving on a committee, even coaching, any sport that they needed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Sarah Olivier, secondary ELA specialist. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. I'm looking forward to working with the secondary teachers in the district and just being able to build their capacity using best practices. So I'm really excited for that and can't wait to get started.
Next, we have Mr. Craig Triggs. You can come up. His career actually started outside of education. He was a fitness supervisor for Terrebonne Regional Wellness Center. He started his teaching in St. Mary Parish at the St. Mary Alternative School, where he obtained his alternate teaching certification. He then moved to Hattie Watts as a health and PE teacher, and last year he was appointed as Dean of Students for WP Foster. Among many of his responsibilities, a few are providing mentoring services for students, supervising nationally certified fitness specialists and personal trainers. He coordinated employee schedules, ensures planning and design of lessons that are aligned with state standards. He participated in the coordination, implementation, and supervision of student activities, athletic events, student orientations, and similar activities. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Craig Triggs, Assistant Principal at Patterson High School.
I wish they could just say your name and I'm from Patterson. It'd be so much better. This is Craig from Patterson. It was an honor to be at Foster with Dr. Stewart and the staff and the community in Franklin. It's an even greater honor to have been to Patterson. Now I have to be able to have the chance to serve at Patterson. That's all I have to say. Thank you for the opportunity.
Next, we have Ms. Delonda Richardson. Ms. Delonda Richardson started her career in Caddo Parish, where she was a teacher, a master teacher, instructional strategist, then moved to Lafayette Parish, where she was a teacher and the director of a law academy. She is currently in, well, up until today, in Iberia Parish as an instructional coach. She has experience in providing professional development to teachers, analyzing student data, and sharing with teachers to help them increase their ability to increase student achievement. Her references stated that she is a team player, she never turns down a challenge, and she is committed to student achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Delonda Richardson, Assistant Principal at B. Edward Woodrow.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank everyone for providing me the opportunity to continue working with all students in St. Mary Parish. I am very ready and eager to work at Boudreaux with Ms. Rack and making sure that the students receive the education that they deserve and working with the teachers to continue to grow them in that capacity. Thank you.
And last for this month, we have Mrs. Kristen Perkle. Ms. Perkle started her career in St. Mary Parish as a long-term substitute at Morgan City High School. She then moved to Berwick Junior High as an ELA teacher, then Berwick High School as an ELA teacher, then moved to assistant principal at Berwick High School, where she then moved to Berwick Junior High as principal, and now secondary district supervisor. Well, now actually chief academic officer. She's currently working on her doctorate degree in educational leadership. A few of her responsibilities are supervising and evaluating performance of administrators and teachers, assisting and implementing district-wide incentives, policies, ensuring effective implementation of all, offering guidance, resources, and addressing instructional changes, implementing curriculum standards, collaborating with specialists to develop frameworks, instructional materials, and assessments that align with the standards. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Kristen Perkle, Chief Academic Officer.
They told me I had to keep it short and sweet. But of course, thank you for the opportunity. I'm honored. I'm truly excited to continue to work with the students of St. Mary Parish and of course now to embrace the elementary side. So super excited and ready to work. Thank you.
All right, congratulations to all of you. Next is recognition of 12th grader Jacqueline Caesar for Class 2A High Jump State Champion. It's gonna be Coach Bennett.
All right, good evening. So Jacqueline could not be here tonight. He is currently in Baton Rouge, starting his summer workouts for Baton Rouge Community College, which he received a full athletic scholarship for basketball. So I just want to kind of acknowledge what he did this year, though. He was a starting point guard on our state championship basketball team, and just a few short months after that, was also able to win the high jump championship in the Class 2A for the males. So that was very impressive, worth noting for sure. At the beginning of the season, Jacqueline was jumping an average of 5'10", and at the end of the season was regularly clearing 6'6", which was a giant improvement for somebody who had been doing it for a season and a half.
He became the district champion, regional runner-up, and finally went on to win the state championship against a young man who was the state championship for 3 years running in that event and also earned state championship in 3 other events that day. So that was a big, big deal. His accomplishments this year are in very short amount of time with Coach Middleton and myself able to coach him. We're amazing, and we appreciate you guys for recognizing him tonight.
All right, and next, recognition of 11th grader Alarian Fuselier for FFA State President and 11th grader Benjamin Robichaud for FFA State Parliamentarian.
All right.
Coach Bennett.
So Mr. Adams could not be here tonight, so I am just going to read the words that he wrote about these 2 amazing students here. So this summer, Franklin's FFA chapter attended the 95th annual Louisiana FFA State Convention in Alexandria, Louisiana. We have 2 remarkable students here, Miss Alarian Fuselier, who is joined by her mother Anna and younger brother Jaden, and Mr. Benjamin Robichaud, who is accompanied by his mother, Miss Kelly. These 2 students were elected to serve more than 13,000 FFA members as state officers this upcoming year. Alarian will serve as the state president and Benjamin will serve as a state parliamentarian. These individuals went through numerous rounds of intense interviews that included personal panels advocating for agriculture and agricultural education to supporters, conducting leadership workshops, and delivering an extemporaneous speech. Throughout their years of service, these 2 exemplary students will grow leaders, promote members' personal growth, and advocate for the agricultural industry. Prior to their election, only 2 members from Franklin have ever served as state FFA officers. In addition to that incredible achievement, we also have another student named Orlando Verrett, who's not here, who went through a similar process and was elected as the Area 3 president. He was the first member ever from Franklin to do so. Numerous members were also recognized in their respective proficiency award areas, totaling 8 first or second place finishers. Multiple projects will also advance to the national level from this competition. The chapter has also earned the top swine exhibition program in the entire state for working show pigs on numerous levels. Lastly, the seven members earn the highest degree the state can bestow on its members, the state FFA degree. Make sure to look for these guys as well as the rest of our Mr. Adams, our agriculture program and FFA on the cover of the July-August edition of the National Farm Journal Pork Magazine next month. Mr. Larry,
Well, first, I do want to say thank y'all for having me and Benjamin. On behalf of Louisiana FFA and the Franklin FFA chapter, it's a thank you. A lot of us may undermine the fact that people sit here for hours debating on how our parish is going to excel for the next generation of students. I'm one of those students that recognizes it. And I thank each and every one of y'all for being a role model for us and for the generations coming behind us. So on behalf of me, Louisiana FFA, and Franklin FFA, I give you a huge thank you.
also, she's thinking about becoming an educator, so Dr. Fagenbush, keep her seat warm right there.
Thank you both so much. They've got me pretty emotional. If you walk on the Franklin High School campus, if they've met you one time, they will remember you every single time after that when you walk on that campus. They are very visible. They're amazing leaders, and the program itself, we can't speak enough of it. So congratulations.
Now I was thinking we probably have a job right now that they could. Congratulations. So inspiring and just amazing to have, just so amazing. Congratulations. All right, next up, our Lean Frog presentation regarding the transportation summary. Mr. Hedrick.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's nice to be here again. I won't talk as long this time with this assessment as I did last time. But I have a lot of good information to share with you guys tonight about your transportation services that you're providing to the students of St. Mary's Parish. It's just not. Okay. So I'd like to begin by just walking through very briefly the work that we did. We did a detailed analysis of all the regular routes that are currently ran in St. Mary's Parish. We looked at every regular education route at every school in detail. We also walked through the department processes to determine how work was being done inside the department. We looked at long-term performance. We used comparatives both nationally and regionally where it makes sense to look at those things. And we basically had gathered a deep understanding of how service was being provided to the students of St. Mary's Parish. Go to the next one. I'd like to start by saying there are several good things we saw. The first, of course, recently, the department, of course, was restructured so we could have more focus on transportation. And you as the board have taken efforts to improve the compensation for your drivers. That is very commendable. But also, it's important to note that over the last 4 years, when we pulled those financial data, the department has shown strong fiscal stewardship. Now, that doesn't mean that expenditures haven't increased. They have. We live in a nation with a lot of inflation right now. But what we did see, one good metric is to look at what percentage of the budget is being spent on transportation services. And what in comparison to other districts across your state and across the nation. You guys consistently are running between 3.6, 3.9%. 3.9 was a high. I think last year was 3.6. It's been consistent. So what that's saying is as the district's resources have grown, your transportation is tracking. It's not exceeding that. It's not growing faster. It's in line. Inside the large assessment document that you have, you may notice in there that we see some cost by rider or cost per bus is a little high. It's more in line with national numbers versus regional numbers. That is because the way that you guys are structured with the way you're leasing buses, it drives that cost a little high. But when we look at the actual efficiency inside the program, we did find some opportunities, but based off of how you're currently configured and structured with your schools, overall, you have very strong efficiency. You can see where smart decisions have been made, where routes were turned into combination routes, were tiered appropriately. Some are 2-tiered, some are 3-tiered. We saw all that. We did find some opportunities for improvement. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But overall, that fiscal stewardship as far as the routing goes was in line. You're running a little higher because of the bus leasing and the way maintenance is handled. But at the same time, your bus fleet age is much younger than most districts. So that's what you're investing in, and that's what you're getting as the payback for that investment, if that makes sense. The other piece of this was that when we looked at the district overall, let me just a second here. When we looked at all the times that it took for drivers across both PM and AM, and they're well within the limits. You're really running overall, if you look at the deployment window from start to finish, you'll see that we're really just under, you're seeing about 3 hours and 45 minutes. That start to finish. You do have some buses, a handful that are running around 3 hours, 30 minutes or 2 hours, 55 minutes. Most of your buses are averaging around 2 hours, 6 minutes of transportation time with students. So that's great. You're not really pushing your routes way out. You're very paying very good attention with your student ride times there. The other thing was that the district had recently acquired some routing software, and you guys were in process of getting that up and going during this assessment. And that's great because to make the improvements, you have a very complicated routing structure because inside your parish, you have extremely different population density by areas. So you have to have different ways of routing buses in those areas to get the most efficiency. In order to manage that, you guys have been doing that manually with the help of bus drivers. Having that software will really help you drive efficiency and be able to drive some of the improvements that I've pointed out, I'll be pointing out tonight. So the first thing is there is some opportunities to optimize some routes and basically reduce the need for 2 buses. Now, what you may say, well, what does that mean for us? For the parish, that we have to restructure about 29 routes to get those 2 buses. So it is some effort to do, but what that will do for the district, and we'll talk about this later on, it will give you some capacity to handle some unplanned absences and those things as well. It will also save a little over $50,000 on your lease cost for those buses. Now, there's also some opportunity to add some resources to support route maintenance and route improvement over time. Right now, you've bought the software, but you only have 1 license. You may find that you need an additional license so that the transportation department and the IT department can better cooperatively work together on designing routes. The other thing, with a level of opportunities you would have going forward, you probably need at least a half of a person dedicated to working on routing. And that can be in IT right now. IT's handling putting that together, but they have to be able to work hand in hand with transportation. So there is an opportunity for some more resources potentially there that you guys will need to consider. The other piece is unplanned driver absences. It really causes considerable work on the department, and also it puts your student service levels at risk. You just don't have a good substitute pool, and you're not going to really. It's really hard right now to find people to be bus drivers, much less to be substitute drivers. One thing we're suggesting is the deployment of standby buses. You wouldn't have to use your lease buses for this. You could station drivers at schools where there's activity buses, that those activity buses then could be pulled on to cover for unplanned absences of drivers. When you reduce those 2 buses, you could save the money on the leases there and then redeploy those drivers if needed in those for those standby buses, and that will improve the service level for students. There'll be less of principals being called, hey, you got to go pull out that standby bus and do something. You'll actually have some availability of resources there. Now, there is an opportunity to have further route improvements that you could do in the future. And once your bus leases are coming up for renewal after this next group, you may want to look at that. To do it, though, would require spreading your start time between your middle high schools and your elementary schools. If you separated those start times by about 10 to 15 minutes, it would allow you more opportunity to reduce some routes and better route structures. Right now, you may see, particularly in the PMs, buses that may only have 19 students on them, and you may think that those buses are inefficient. The problem is your route time, your spread on your bell schedule is 30 minutes. Those 19, 20 students, their route time from them getting on the bus to being delivered at their home is around 23 minutes, 27 minutes. So you don't have a big enough spread to add more students to those buses. It's not the bus capacity, it's the time that's locking you down. So if you're able to, again, this is something I would suggest longer term, once there's some potential savings from the leases to do. Also, by that time, you'll have the software up and going. It'll be easier for you to consider doing that deployment. But there is more opportunity if you do that spread after in the coming years. Again, you're not restructuring all the start times. You're not changing up. You're just moving the schools, the elementary and the middle high school spread a little wider. By 10 to 15 minutes would get you, and what you would give you is the opportunity to take some of those buses where you have 19, 20, 18 students, take 3 of them, and you're able, that are running, 20 minutes or 23 minutes apiece, spread those kids across 2, take it to 30 minutes, and you'll be able to eliminate the need for some other buses, if that makes sense for you. And then lastly, we would suggest setting up some key performance indicators for transportation, something to look at annually. In our large assessment, we have a whole appendix full of those. A lot of them I've looked at already for the assessment, but it would be good for you to look at those going on so that you guys can identify opportunity in the future at the district level. So I've gone over these in detail with Mr. Lewis and shared. We've gone over it. He feels good about these suggestions going forward. And you should be able to successfully implement these pieces with the resources you have now. Are there any questions regarding the assessment? I keep waiting for you guys to ask me questions. I told the superintendent it's kind of refreshing. I don't get a lot of questions from your group. But if questions come up, feel free. I'll be happy to answer them. As Mr. Lewis, I told him today, if he begins to implement those route redesigns, if there's questions about them, he can hit me up and I'll work with him. Again, there's not an extra charge for that for me to help him get into the detail. But you've got some real good opportunity immediately, and then you have some ongoing over the years too. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you guys for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hedrick.
Okay, next up, we do not have any items on an amended agenda. Next would be the approval of the official school board minutes from the June 13th, 2024 regular school board meeting. What are the wishes? Ms. Moore makes a motion to accept. Ms. LaSalle seconds. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next will be the approval of the consent agenda with items preceded with an asterisk will constitute the consent agenda, with board members being able to remove any items so desired. All remaining items will constitute the finalized consent agenda and be voted on altogether. Dr. Fagenbush, please read the items on the consent agenda.
Mr. Hammonds. Were we going to read the whole consent agenda?
Yes, the reason for the hesitation. The reason for the hesitation is that the legislature passed an act this session that said that if you have 50 items on your agenda, you don't have to read the names of all of the items, but that's only in parishes of 125,000. So it's not, I went back and read the fine print, and it's not going to help you. I'm sorry.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay, number 1, under personnel, approve job descriptions for assistant principal, assistant superintendent, behavioral interventionist, bus attendant, bus driver, chief academic officer, chief accountant, chief financial officer, chief technology officer, computer network specialist, coordinator of special and related services, coordinator of accountability, coordinator of special services elementary, coordinator of special services secondary, curriculum facilitator, custodian, data analyst accountability, dean of students, director of human resources, director of maintenance, Director of Special Services, Educational Diagnostician, EL Liaison, English Learner Paraprofessional, Facilitator of School Health and Nursing, Federal Programs Liaison, Homebound Teacher, IEP Interventionist, Librarian, McKinney-Vento Liaison, Payroll Manager, Pre-K Paraprofessional, Principal, Public Information Officer, School Bookkeeper, School Counselor, School Nurse, School Psychologist, School Secretary, Sign Language Interpreter, Social Worker, Special Education Paraprofessional, Special Education Teacher, Special Services Compliance Coordinator, Specialist, STEM/CTE Liaison, Student Services Liaison, Supervisor of Child Nutrition Program, Supervisor of Child Welfare and Attendance, Supervisor of Elementary Education, Supervisor of Secondary Education, Supervisor of Transportation, Teacher, Technology Facilitator, and those are inclusive of items A through BC. Number 3, approve policies from Forethought Consulting as revised by Hammonds and Sales. A, behavioral health support for students. JGCF, new policy. B, behavioral health services for students. JGCFA. Under Business Affairs, 5, award bids. A, custodial supplies. 6, authorize RFP or negotiation process for casualty insurance for the year commencing October 1, 2024. 7, approve resolution accepting donation of Berwick High School softball field from Carline Land Trust. 16, approve the 2024-2025 pupil progression plan. 17, approve cooperative endeavor agreement with 16th Judicial District Office of the District Attorney and Family Service Division for early intervention programs. 20, approve industrial tax exemption, ITEP, resolution regarding Gravas aluminum boats. And that ends the consent agenda.
All right, what are the wishes of the board? You want to pull number 20? Okay. Mr. Mancuso? I think we want to pull number 20 though.
Pull number 3 and number 20.
Number 3 and 20. Okay, that's what I thought. All right, any other items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda? What are the wishes of the board in regards to the consent agenda minus number 3 and number 20? Ms. Moore? Oh, Ms. LaSalle, you want to make the motion to accept? And Ms. Moore, seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, let me figure out where we at now. All right, so we should be on number 2, approval of the 2024-2025 St. Mary Parish School Board Comprehensive Salary and Classification, otherwise known as the Gold Book. Ms. Estee.
Okay, for the Go Book, if y'all want to start on page 5, which was the salary schedule for teachers, we're proposing that for a temporary authority to teach, which is a non-certified teacher, that the pay currently right now, they stay at a first-year teacher pay. But we're proposing the $45,000, hoping that there will be an incentive for people to complete their certification so that we can hire them as a certified Louisiana teacher on a certificate. Next page, does anybody have any questions?
Now, do we provide assistance for them to obtain that certification?
Yes, ma'am. We reimburse once they pass their praxis test. We also reimburse them for the alternate certification once they get their teaching certificate, up to $4,500, sorry. 4,500, 4,400.
Thank you.
Okay. On page 8, the band supplement, we had increased the percentages for junior high and senior high band. Starting second semester last year and through the summer, they have kind of restructured our band programs, where junior high and high school band directors will be working together side by side, preparing the feeder band programs with the high school band programs. So we were just trying to compensate them for the work that they are doing. Any questions there? Okay. On page 9, for the coaching supplements, we had added cheerleading and dance team. Those are 2 sports that were not included with High School Athletic Association stipends. They do a lot of work just as the coaches do. So we added them into the coaching salary schedule. In addition to, on page 10, we increased the allotments by 1 for each one of the schools to help cover the cost on that. Okay. On page 11, the bus coordinators at the junior high and high schools, they have the activity buses. So the bus coordinators are expected to make sure that they maintain the upkeep on the activity buses, making sure that they're inspected, if there's any repairs that need to be taken care of, making sure it's clean, the scheduling of the activity buses and all of that. So with the stipends that we previously had approved, doing it 500 per semester, just like the other ones in December and in May. So that was an addition there. On page, that was page 2, okay. Page 13, on the administrative salary schedule, when we went through the Lean Frog review, we noticed that junior high and elementary principals were, the pay wasn't equivalent to the job responsibilities. And in doing the goal book, we realized we hadn't proposed that yet. So increase in the junior high principals, 0.01%, and then the elementary principals, the 0.38 to 0.4. As we had said last month with Lean Frog, a lot of elementary and junior high principals in other districts do not work the 12 months as ours do. And so to help compensate, the daily rate of pay. On page 24, I feel like, did I skip one? No, okay. On page 24, we updated the professional development workshop attendance pay because based on Act 311, they had to have a net pay of $30. So to figure out their net pay of being $30, we had to increase it to $32.50 from the 25. Any questions? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. And then the bachelor's degree substitutes, we had adjusted that to match the 45,000 of the TAP teacher pay, which would come out to $247.25 per day.
Any questions? What are the wishes of the board? That was it, right, Ms. Esther?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And then to update anything to adjust with the 2024-25 realignment.
Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
I make a motion to accept the comprehensive salary classifications for 2024-2025 school year.
All right, Ms. Ansel makes a motion to accept and approve. Ms. Jones makes a second. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Esther. Okay, number 3, approve policies from Forethought Consulting as revised by Hammonds and Seals. A, behavioral health support for students, JGCF, which is a new policy, and B, behavioral health services for students, JGCFA. Mr. Mancuso.
Yeah, I'd like to table item 3 until after the policy committee, can meet. Like to set a date for that meeting, if we can do that now. We can add, July.
Now, did I read though that those had to be approved and in place so many days prior to the 24-25 school year? So that's something to keep in mind. I think it has to be approved 30 days prior.
I think though, if I can, Mr. Mancuso, there was just a part of one of those policies that you wanted to review, so perhaps we can accept the policies for the timeline and then a revision could be presented if so.
Go redo it and then come back and approve it.
Because it was just something about the insurance policy piece that was the concern.
I'd like to table it until after the policy committee can meet.
So what happens if we don't have a policy in place within so many days?
Well, actually, the act to the legislature, if we're talking about those that are listed there, says that you're supposed to have it 30 days prior to the beginning of this school year. And I want to make sure I got that exact language, but we're already past that time period. Many of the school boards did not have meetings scheduled after they got notice of this. We were given about 40 days notice that you had to have it 30 days in advance. So most of the school boards in the state of Louisiana could not meet those guidelines. Nevertheless, it is something that's supposed to be in place prior to the beginning of the school year. So I don't know if you have any other meetings scheduled or whether or not there are parts of this that couldn't be implemented while the other parts are being reviewed.
Ms. Moore.
What is the penalty if you don't have one?
There's no penalty put in that. It's Act 324 and it says not later than 30 days prior to the beginning of the school year. So that you shall adopt these rules and regulations. But there's no penalty for your failure to do so other than the fact that you haven't complied with one of the new state laws, one of 772, I think, new state laws that were passed in this last legislative session, which, you know, I haven't been to a meeting recently where I haven't been asked about at least one of them. That big old thick package you see me carrying out tonight is a copy of every one of those because I keep being asked about it as I go move around the state. You can make a motion to table. That motion would require a second, would be non-debatable. You'd vote on the motion to table. Procedurally, that's the way that you would handle that.
I'll make that motion.
All right, so Mr. Mancuso has a motion to table. Do we have a second? Ms. Jones seconds it. Any discussion or questions?
It's non-debatable, so you would just vote on
Oh,
the
just vote, okay.
motion to table.
All right, so all those in favor of tabling it, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Me, 1. All right, motion carries. It'll be tabled. Can we set the meeting for the policy review board now? Or does that need to wait to the end?
No, you can set it whenever you choose.
Okay, you have a date?
July 30th, 4 p.m.
July 30th, 4 p.m. What day is that? Oh, I'm sorry, I got it right here. This is Tuesday at 4? Okay. All right. Anybody have any issues with that time or date?
We have a budget meeting that evening at 5:30, so I think that was
The budget's at 5:30?
the budget workshop, I'm sorry.
Budget workshop.
I was just hoping we could move that budget
Closer
meeting
to,
earlier than 5:30, so. Yeah.
can we move the policy one closer to the 5:30? Do you think it's gonna take an hour and a half? Oh, okay, well then we'll just leave it at 4. Anybody have any issues with that? All right, policy review committee will meet on July 30th at 4 p.m. Followed by the budget meeting at 5:30. All right, And that's for both of those, right, Mr. Mancuso? Okay, perfect. All right, so next up would be present policies from Forethought Consulting for consideration at the August meeting. Ms. Este.
Okay, so this one we're asking to consider for the August board meeting so that it can be reviewed in the policy committee meeting.
So we can review these within our policy. Okay, gotcha. So we don't have to do any action on that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Miss Estee, thank you for your forethought on that. I appreciate just having that to us so we can review it then.
You just said thank you. All right. Next would be number 8, receive group health insurance premium to claim summary report. Mr. Perez, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be quick. I know you have a lot of items to cover on your agenda. So I'm here to present an update with regarding your group health plan, your commercial plan, and this is through June of 2024. You'll see that year to date for 2024, we have $6.4 million in premiums paid in and $5.5 million of claims paid out for a simple loss ratio of about 85.9%. Adjusting for expenses, it would be about 94.5%. We have one large claim that exceeded your $175,000 attachment point. There are 2 more that are on track to exceed that attachment point by year end. You have 48 claims over $25,000. 20 of those are prescription drug claims. When you compare prescription drugs and how they are tracking this year compared to last year and 2022, you'll notice a significant increase in prescription drugs. Much of that can be attributed to higher counts for prescriptions in the diabetic category, specifically Mounjaro, Ozempic, and Jardiance. You have a significant increase in spend for those medications. I think last board meeting.
I thought we didn't cover those medications. How can we have?
No, those have always been covered. The controversy has been whether they are being prescribed for a diabetes diagnosis. And Blue Cross has been trying to enforce that, but doctors are diagnosing people with diabetes, and they're getting those drugs filled through their doctors. It's not through a diet clinic or anything. It's through their doctors, and I think many of them are being used for weight loss, but these are people that are diagnosed with diabetes.
So only if your doctor diagnoses you with diabetes, will you guys pay for it?
That's how it currently is in your policy. There is legislation to change that to where these drugs can be prescribed for weight loss. Yes.
One more question, Ms. Moore.
What's the actual dollar amount in increase?
The actual dollar amount for each of these?
No, just for those in the prescription drug area, considering the diabetic medication.
Like, you want to know how much your plan is paying, like, per month?
Yes.
Okay, so year to date for Mounjaro, it's the number 1 on the list of drugs ranked by payment. And it's been $264,000 for that drug when 2 years ago, that was probably under 100,000. For Ozempic, it's $258,000 paid. And for Jardiance, 107,000. And we're just mid-year. That's just the first 6 months. So I just wanted to alert you to that. Also, we had concerns about Ochsner claims. Ochsner's contract expired effective March 1st, and claims were held for 2 months while Blue Cross and Ochsner negotiated the contract. They did come back on network, and my concern was, well, are we now going to see a huge uptick in Ochsner payments? Because that was the case with many other school systems. By now, those claims that were held should have gone through the system. And I looked at inpatient and outpatient claims. It does not seem to have had a huge impact on this school system. So in spite of all that I just described, we are in a much better position at this point this year than we were 6 months into the year for 2023. In fact, if you look at the hypothetical self-funded, year to date, we would have added over $500,000 to our reserves. You know, we would be at $2.2 million in reserves. And this is, again, assuming that we started with 0 reserves, hypothetically being self-funded since January 1 of 2022 in that hypothetical self-funded. And I promised the board last year I would continue to look at it. And these cost figures for self-funded, I don't expect them to be much different when we get a fresh new proposal for 2025. So, any other questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
You too. Okay, next, approve student accident insurance for year commencing August 1st, 2024. Mrs. Bro.
Good evening. Okay, it's that time of year again. In your packet, you should have my spreadsheet. This is the student accident insurance. This board buys a blanket student accident policy that covers all sports, all summer sport training. It also covers all of your school travel, extracurricular activities for students that get hurt. You'll look in column 4 is the renewal being offered, which is Zurich, the same carrier that's been having you for several years now. Look down in section E, line 8, that's your annual premium for this year. You'll be happy to see the premium is going to be $38,500. That's about a $4,600 decrease over expiring. And then when you go down to section F, this is a catastrophic coverage. This is a coverage that the Louisiana High School Athletic Association requires you to have. It's an excess, strictly catastrophic, covers anything over that $25,000 threshold. Still all the same coverages, no changes there, the $5 million, and that premium for that portion of the policy is included in that $38,500. So I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and approve the renewal of this student accident policy for this next school year. Any questions?
Mr. Mancuso? Mr. Mancuso makes a motion. Ms. Dennis seconds it. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 10, to consider and take action with respect to adopting a resolution ordering and calling special elections to be held in A, Consolidated School District Number 2 of St. Mary Parish, Louisiana, B, Consolidated School District Number 3 of St. Mary Parish, Louisiana, C, Sixth Ward, Special School District Number 3 of St. Mary Parish, Louisiana, to authorize the continuation of special taxes therein, making application to the State Bond Commission and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Mr. Akers.
Thank you. Jason Akers of Foley Newdale. Pleasure to see all of you again. We visited earlier this year about the various taxes, ad valorem taxes that are being levied by the school board throughout the parish and the need to renew those. In consultation with Mr. Perry, we determined to put those on the ballot for renewal in December of this year. This resolution accomplishes that. Will, with your approval, take it to the State Bond Commission and the Secretary of State, and it will appear on the ballot on December 7th. And at that point, the voters in the parish, and I say in the parish, they'll each be voting on one of the three propositions. And it covers the entire parish by doing it that way, but the voters will have their chance to approve. I want to note that while these are renewals in the traditional sense, the language that the State Bond Commission requires us to use is a continuation. And that's because over the last 10 years of these taxes have been in effect, there has been at least 1 year where in each one of them, where the assessed value in reappraisal year actually went down, and the school board elected to roll up the millage as a result. So it's not a change in current millage rates. I want to be very, very clear on that. These millages that are in the propositions are the millages that are currently being levied by the school board. So it's not a change in millage rates. It's just the language that we're required to use in order to provide full information to the voting public. Our intent is to, as I said, have that on the December 7th election. Then we'll come back to you in January to canvass those returns. And with approval by the voters, this will be a seamless renewal so that you would not lose any tax collections over the coming years. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I completely agree. Yes, I believe the reading of the title was sufficient.
Okay.
And it would
have to be a roll call vote.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, this would be it would be this title? Okay. This would be in regards to resolution ordering and calling special elections to be held in exactly what I just read in the thing. A, Consolidated School District Number 2 of St. Mary Parish, Louisiana. B, Consolidated School District Number 3 of St. Mary Parish, Louisiana. C, Sixth Ward, Special School District Number 3 of St. Mary Parish, Louisiana, to authorize the continuation of special taxes therein, make an application to the State Bond Commission and providing for other matters in connection therewith. What are the wishes of the board? Mr. Mancuso makes a motion to accept the resolution. Ms. Moore, was that a Ms. Moore? Second, Ms. Moore seconds. Any questions or discussion? All right, Dr. Fagenbush, please take a roll call vote.
Ms. Brent? Ms. Moore? Ms. Sandslam?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. LaSalle?
Yes.
Mr. Ponte?
Yes.
Mr. Parity?
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso? Mrs. Dennis? Mrs. Black?
Yes.
All
Thank-
yeses.
Motion carries. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. All right, next, number 11, consider and/or take action to increase school board members and school board president compensation. Dr. Fagenbush.
Again, referencing our League Frog recent salary compensation study. Within that, looking at every position that we have within our district, of course, as valued employees of St. Mary Parish, we also looked at our board member compensation. We, in line with revised statute 1756A1, we have done proper announcing and advertising of the potential of seeking a school board member raise for this evening. The raises that we're asking for would be for our school board members to receive $800 a month, and as allowable by law for our president to receive the additional 100. And this is completely in alignment with our surrounding districts and most districts in Louisiana.
Okay. What are the wishes of the board? Any questions? Ms. Moore? Ms. Moore makes a motion to Ms. Lissa, I was gonna second. Any questions or discussions? Ms. LaSalle?
I'm not gonna say I'm the oldest person here. I think that's the oldest person right there. But I've been on the board the longest. It's been 40 years. No, I'm wrong. It's been over 40 years since there has been any increase or record of any increase for the boards. However, there has been salary action within this last 40 plus years. The board took a decrease in pay of $100 some decades ago in camaraderie with their constituents, because they had, back then they were lower in funds, and they had to decrease the pay of school teachers and all the school employees. So I don't know if the law had been written yet, or if they weren't aware of the law, but school board members are not allowed by law to decrease your salary. They can only increase it. And that has never been given back to any of the boards. I just think they just didn't know. Well, we have the internet now and we know more. And as a board member that's been here longer, I'm proud of what I do. I didn't do it for the money, because nobody here does it for the money, because you might be able to buy groceries for a month maybe. But anyway, this increase is not for us. We don't own this seat. We didn't work to gain a lot of momentum and accolades. This is to show that we are in alignment with the others, because this seat will go to somebody else when our term is up, or whenever we're out of here. So it's just to keep the growth of the parish perpetual for the next board and the next board and the next board. So it won't be another 40 plus years before we're in line with the rest of the districts. And I just want to ask you to take that in consideration. I've asked some older board members, older than me, but not on the board anymore, why they didn't do it. And one of the older board members said, it really should have been done a long time ago, but they just didn't. So just want to give you that information.
Thank you. Any other discussions, comments? All right, we're going to do a roll call vote. Dr. Fagenbush?
Ms. Brent?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Anselm?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
No.
Ms. LaSalle?
Yes.
Mr. Ponte?
Yes.
Mr. Parity? Mr. Mancuso?
No.
Ms. Dennis?
No.
Ms. Black?
According to Louisiana law, it requires 2/3 vote. It did not obtain 2/3 vote, so that means the motion failed.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, number 12, approve funding for the replacement of approximately 5,000 square feet of tectum ceiling tile and the removal of the center mounted scoreboard in the multi-purpose gym at Morgan City High School at an estimated cost of $98,400. Mr. Wise.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to bring this to y'all attention, but we had some unforeseen things happen in a multi-purpose building at Morgan City High where we damaged a bunch of ceiling tile. Of course, tectum tile is very expensive, and the amount of work that it takes to scaffold up there, protect the gym floor, and replace all of the tile is quite expensive. But while we're doing it, since we've been asked many times to to look at the possibility of removing that school board. So I said, well, let's get a price on doing that as well. So the price that I'm presenting y'all tonight to replace that tile and remove that school board is $98,400.
Okay, any questions? What are the, Mr. Mancuso? Mr. Mancuso makes a motion to approve. Mr. Ponte seconds it. Any discussion or questions? Mr. Mancuso?
Correct. District 3 maintenance.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 13, consider funding the purchase of a new mower for Berwick Senior High with an estimated cost of $17,000.
This was one of the items that did not make the special projects list, and something for the board to consider. So at this time, I'd like to add the replacement of the Berwick High mower. Estimated cost $17,000 to be funded through Maintenance District 2 special projects.
What are the wishes of the board? Mr. Parity? All right, Mr. Parity makes a motion. Ms. Griffin seconds it. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, accept change order number 2 for Morgan City Junior High and JS Oakland District 3 Phase 1 roofing project in the amount of $11,140 using ESSER funds.
I'm sorry to keep bringing all of these change orders to y'all. I know I've been up here several times asking for change orders, but some of these things that we're doing in this roofing project were just unforeseen. And I hate to kind of wait to the end and bombard you with a very big number. So we try to address these things as we see them and to keep that contract and moving forward. So we had a couple of things that we needed to fund at Morgan City Junior High, some retrofitting of some roof drains in a couple of areas. And then at JS Oakland Elementary, we found some rotten roof decking in a couple of those areas. But the bottom line is we're asking for a change order on those items, $11,140.
Okay. And that would come from District 3.
That's ESSER funds.
ESSER funds. All right. Ms. Dennis makes a motion to approve. Mr. Mancuso seconds it. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 15, declare Morgan City High bus number 205 as surplus and sell to the highest bidder.
So we have a bus that's at Morgan City High, and it's in pretty rough shape. It's been heavily vandalized. We have some transmission issues. I don't think there's a need for the bus as far as what I'm getting the feedback from the principal and from the transportation department. So on behalf of the transportation department, I'd like to declare that bus as surplus and sell it to the highest bidder. And we normally start those bids off at $500, believe it or not.
Does it work?
I don't know.
All right, what are the wishes of the board? Mr. Mancuso makes a motion, Ms. Brent seconds it. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 18, accept the change order for St. Mary Alternative School to include Davis-Bacon wage requirements and the approximate amount of $15,700 using ESSER funds.
On behalf of Mr. Jim Furman for Parton Roofing, our contractor, we've had an adjustment in our contract to include the Davis-Bacon wage compliance. Those costs to comply with those things that we're supposed to do with those ESSER funds, actually that change order is $15,654.49. So I'd like to ask for us to approve that change order.
Okay. Ms. Moore makes a motion to approve. Ms. Anselm seconds. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 19, accept change order for Centerville High School to include Davis-Bacon wage requirement in the approximate amount of $45,500 using ESSER funds.
Again, this is the same thing on behalf of Mr. Jim Furman Architects, Porton Roofing. To add the supplemental pay of those Davis Bacon wages. Actual change order amount is $45,342.75. So at this time, I'd like to ask for that change order.
What are the wishes of the board? Ms. Ansel makes a motion to approve. Ms. Jones seconds it. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Wise.
Thank y'all.
All right, next up, I believe we're under, number 20. Approve industrial tax exemption ITAP resolution regarding gravel aluminum boats.
Last month, someone came before us about Gravios Aluminum not meeting their requirements according to the contract that we all signed. We weren't asking for anybody to rebuke the whole contract like we had been asking before, but it's getting more and more that we get these people and companies in that for whatever reason haven't met it. And I feel as if we are not doing our fiscal duty to prepare our board for futures with the money. We're giving away a lot of money, and I know that giving away the money is not really accurate because you don't see it. It's not tangible at the time, but we're giving them a reprieve on paying money to us. And if you don't hold up your end of the contract, I feel as if it's only fair that the school board takes a stand and at least recommend to the commission that action is taken. I asked the question that night, what has been done in the past? And that question could not be answered. And I took it as nothing has been done. So nothing may not still be done, but at least I want to know that I was responsible enough, our board was responsible enough to ask, to recommend that at least we get refunded for the money that was given per contract. And because of that, we have a resolution that was required to us to be presented by the commission. I think they sent a letter asking for the resolution as part of their process of the recommendation, receiving the recommendation. So all we have to do is vote to accept the recommendation that was written by thank you, so of course not. Mr. Hammonds. Did you write this? Mr. Hammonds, to get it on their agenda, because this is what they look at. So I present this resolution. I think everybody has a copy of it. I don't know if you have to read it or not.
No, just. Sure.
I just wanted to add just a little bit. The issue was the board passed a motion that basically would say that for the year that they didn't do what they were supposed to do, they would pay back the tax exemption that they received. And so when the state was contacted about that, the state said that's not a remedy that's available. And so we said, well, tell us what kind of remedies are available. And they said, well, first off, you can only make a recommendation of the remedy. You can't make the decision of the remedy. But what was determined is that in lieu of getting the payback of this year that they didn't meet their requirements, you could shorten the duration of their exemption by 1 year. And that would have the same net effect. They would lose a year of exemption one way or the other. And they said that they would accept that. So the purpose of this resolution was to change the request. Instead of a pay us in money request, it would be changed to a cut the exemption short by 1 year, which has the same practical financial effect, but is a remedy that they consider to be one of the remedies that's available for a public entity to ask for. Now, again, what you're doing is you're just recommending to the state that that would be the punishment or the sanction here. The state can accept that recommendation or reject that recommendation. This is just your recommendation because you're only one of the taxing bodies that has been impacted.
All right. So what are the wishes of the board? Ms. LaSalle makes a motion to accept the resolution regarding non-compliance with the industrial tax exemption program for gravel aluminum boats. Ms. Griffin seconds it. Any discussion or questions? Okay, I believe we have to do a roll call vote for this.
It would be better.
Let's do a roll call vote. Dr. Fagenbush?
Ms. Brent?
Yes.
Ms. Moore? Mrs. Anselm? Ms. Jones? Ms. Griffin? Ms. LaSalle? Mr. Ponte? Mr. Parity? Mr. Mancuso? Ms. Dennis? Mrs. Black?
Yes.
8 yeses, 3 noes, it passes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, next would be Mr. Perry with his Chief Financial Officer's report.
This was our 12th month, so we've done with the collections for this year. And we've kind of settled in. We collected $1,956,000 versus a budget of $1,951,000. And the last few months have been running like that. Your statements, finance statements are in the packet. And I think we've decided that Tuesday, July 30th at 5:30 would be our budget workshop for the general fund, maintenance funds, and child nutrition program. And I think what we did last year worked good, and we sat out here and answered your questions. And I have no other significant items.
All right, thank you, Mr. Perry. Next, our superintendent's report, Dr. Fagenbush.
The St. Mary Parish School Board will be holding our annual School Safety Summit next week, July 18th. School building administrators, local officials, and district personnel will gather to review current best practices and district safety protocols. These collaborative efforts will only make us stronger as we work to protect our school and district sites. Louisiana is updating evaluation systems for school leaders and educators to support improvement and growth. According to the Louisiana Department of Education, the new evaluation rubrics for school leaders and educators provide clear descriptions of effective practice and facilitate more effective feedback. July 22nd and 23rd, St. Mary Parish instructional and school building leaders will gather with other regional representatives to attend a 2-day training. Hosted by West St. Mary High School, this training will focus on the new Louisiana Leader rubric that will be in effect for the 24-25 school year. As a system, we have elected to not implement the educator component of the new evaluation system until the 25-26 school year. This will allow district and school leaders a year to understand the new evaluation system so that we can best support and provide support to our school-based educators. July 25th and 26th, administrative meetings will be held to prepare for the new school year. We will hold our new teacher in-service July 29th with teacher in-services beginning August 1st. This is a public announcement that the 24-25 annual budget workshop will be held July 30th at 5:30 p.m. in the Evans-Medine boardroom. The public is encouraged to attend. For those who cannot attend, the meeting will be live streamed. Links to the meeting will be posted on our district website. Prior to that meeting at 4 p.m., the policy committee will meet to review current policy considerations that were included in tonight's meeting agenda. Policies that have not been posted for public review will be posted by the end of the day, Monday, July 15th. Before our August 8th regular school board meeting, we will have officially begun the new school year. We continue to remind those who have not re-enrolled to please complete that process before the first day of school. If you need support, please reach out to district or school level personnel. And to conclude, the summer has quickly flown, and we do look forward to greeting our students on the very first day of school, August 7th.
All right, thank you. We'll do our resolutions of respect. Ms. Este, if you are able to, please stand.
Okay. In memoriam of Joyce Goodman, retired special education paraprofessional, and Shelton Abair, retired maintenance technician, whereas Almighty God, in his infinite wisdom, has taken from our midst, and whereas their untimely death has deprived the St. Mary Parish school system of these beloved colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved that the St. Mary Parish School Board and the people attending this meeting bow our heads in silent prayer out of respect and extend to their bereaved families our sincere condolences and express the high regard in which we held each of them in life and honor their memory and death. Let us adjourn this meeting out of respect for Joyce Goodman and Shelton A.
All right, next up is discussion and the board may enter into executive session to receive the compiled superintendent's evaluation result. 106, okay. We are going to go into executive session. So Mr. Mancuso makes a motion, Mr. Parity seconds. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion